Welcome, everybody. We're back. Welcome to Gym Owners Podcast. John and I are going to bring we're going to have a conversation today a little bit about pricing, comparative pricing, fixing yourself within your own market, all that type of stuff, fun stuff, but it really has a lot less to do with what's out there and a lot more about what you think about your own gym. John and I have run into this a lot, and if you hear some of our gym owner interviews, we've had guests on very often. When they get to set their prices, how do they do it? I looked around, the people around me kind of charge this much, so I charge about the same. That's kind of what most people do when they set pricing for their gyms. Does that sound about right, John?
Oh, like almost 100% of the time. It's like,
now,
well,
don't
hey,
get
how
me
did you get
wrong.
your...
I think there's value in assessing where your pricing fits in the market. That's not stupid. It's not stupid. Like, well, I can't be 10 times. Like, I get that. But that truthfully is the extent of most of the research that a lot of people do. The fact is, when I started a gym, that's what I did too. Is I looked around and I saw what the other people with the affiliate name stamped on their door said. And I said, all right, we're going to be 50% more expensive than them, no matter what. If they raise their prices, ours go up. That way I always kept that perceived quality gap, and then it was just my job to make sure that I delivered at that difference. And that's how I set myself apart right away, just saying I'm not competing with them. I don't want to compete with them. If you want the cheapest place they can do that, go to that. But that was how I broke the race to the bottom. However, when we did decide on that pricing, the thing that never factored into it at all was like how much money I actually need to operate.
Right.
Like I didn't have anything to do with it. It was just like, well, I only did it based on the comparison basis and had nothing to do with the actual inner workings of my business and where I wanted it to go or what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, because definitely, like, can you eat? Like, I guess not even can you eat? Like, eating almost is irrelevant at that point. It's like, can you actually even can you actually pay anybody to do it?
I don't know.
Like,
it seemed better than charging just what they were charging. So I was like, well, it's more. This makes that conversation easier. But this is a thing that you deal with in a lot of places. And this is about positioning yourself it's really like perceived quality, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of your perceived ranking as far as quality or the premium nature of your product within your own market. And pricing is one way to do it. There's a lot of other things, from how your social media stuff looks, how your facility looks, what the customer experience is, even from just the phone call or the email. Like, that all can feel like it's worth twice as much as the next place. And that's usually a good start. But what we get into is doing the other thing, is being a race to the bottom, because your average person who comes in off the street maybe isn't looking for functional fitness, and they're not looking for CrossFit versus a bodybuilding. They don't know. You know what I mean? The vast majority of the population that's out there, your potential clients out there in the world, are not already doing fitness.
Well,
right? That's your untapped people. And they don't know the difference between your $200 membership and the global gym next door, where they can get in for $25 a month. They don't know that place is fitness and this place is fitness. And you don't want to play the same game that they're asking you to play by saying, well, this one's only $25 and there's no point in even going there. But this setting a price floor anywhere near, for any reasons pertaining to what anyone else in your market is doing, is nearly pointless. Do you agree?
100, and that is exactly it. Like 100%, because you're just setting it because you see other people doing that.
Yeah.
In no other part of your life would you be like, all right, your neighbor needs help painting his fence. At no point would it be like, well, I'll paint half of this fence for free. And then that's a good idea, because then he'll want me to then continue the fence, and then he'll pay me. It's like, at no point in our lives does that equate. And for some reason within fitness, we started getting into this model where it's like, well, so-and-so, they're going to let me do this for free, or I can start for $1, or I can do this, or I can do that. And it's like, are you even bothering to look at all of what you're looking at, as far as like what the model is that you're looking at, and whether or not that even remotely equates to what you're doing?
Well, and getting out of that thing, you have to look at what are your competitors selling? What are they saying they're selling? And what do your potential customers believe that those people are selling? So if they go to a place that's a 24-hour access gym, maybe no coaching, no nothing, right? And that's the place they're going to use to compare you, right? To try to hold your pricing. They're like, well, geez, why should I pay this much? Blah, 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 blah. Like, that's if that ever comes to be the case, like, you understand they're not selling what you're selling. Not even close, right? What they're selling is access to get into the place, access to the toilet, maybe a towel here and there, and then access to equipment. And that's it. They're essentially renting the right to use that equipment for a month for that price. And this is it's a very different thing. So we need to make sure that all of your messaging, everything you build in your packages, is the opposite of that. And that's where it gets tricky when we get into, even though it's group fitness and coaching, it still feels like a catch-all. It still feels like just a workout thing. And what we're really selling is the experience. We're selling expertise. We're selling a journey. The real thing you're selling is results. That's what they're there. They don't come to you to have fun. Having fun is a nice byproduct, but they came to you because they want results and they want to feel better. So we need to really package our stuff around that. And if you deliver premium, top-notch, platinum level results, you can charge real deal prices. But you have to build your system to accommodate that. And unless you're able to do, what were some of the numbers we were looking at on a lot of these global gym models, John?
Oh yeah, it was something crazy. It was like, if you looked on, it was on average, Planet Fitness, right, is the example. Like, on average, you can look at one of their gyms, and for them to operate, they have to have 10 times the number of like clients on their books in order for them to even be profitable.
So the only way it works for them is if 1 out of every 10 people that they convince to sign up ever shows up.
Oh, it's like part of the model. It's the idea is like, the only reason why they can continue to charge for as little as that they do is that they are banking on the fact that you're not going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So they need 90%. You know what I mean? They need something like 90 or 85% of their clientele not to use their facilities ever. And it just subsidizes like the few folks that actually do show up. And the price is so small that it's not supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be not noticeable.
Yeah. You know, but could you imagine now? I mean, it's already rough enough if you're only selling monthly gym memberships for fitness, for group fitness, things like that. If that's your only program, it's already rough going through all the steps it takes to get a person to your front door, right? To a person in your inbox, person wanting your help, a person who found you, wants you, has the need, and is ready to start. That's a lot of big steps, right, for that person to take to get there. For that person to show up at that point and you to only be able to close a $200 gym membership is already like a month. That's a lot of damn work for that couple $100 if that's the only thing you're offering, which we try to teach otherwise. But could you imagine just doing sales for $20, $30 monthly membership? I mean, it would make me crazy. I just couldn't. there's no way.
There's no way. And that's why, like, you go into those places, it's not like they're stacked with sales people.
No,
it's like the price needs to sell the thing. It's like, it's super inexpensive. Like, it's buy it.
Yeah. And we've talked in the past that what we need is people give the opportunity to invest in themselves, and that level of commitment, what you're offering in your gym versus the global gym one size fits all fitness model is an opportunity to commit further to themselves, right? For the client. It's an opportunity to invest in themselves. People want that opportunity. They need the opportunity, and that's what they're there to do. And if someone's coming there and the first thing that they're saying when they're finally taking this moment to invest in themselves, and the first thing they say is, wow, I really wish this was $40 instead of $400. It's like, well, okay, well, that already says a lot about where they're at with this.
Right.
And it already is that is the big thing and not this thing. And everybody's financial situations are different, but that does mean that is the primary factor in their decision making, which is probably going to keep them getting the same results that they've always got. And you don't have to take a hard line in this when you're communicating it to people, but that's what you need to know that for your own psychology as you're selling this stuff, as you're selling your packages, and then you're putting it together, that not all these people are going to be your people. And some of them just aren't ready yet. Some of them need to learn this lesson and go spend a couple of years in a $30 gym and not show up and not have anyone accountable for them, and not have any sense of community, and not have anybody in their corner, not having anybody touching base with them, not having any group gatherings, not getting into a whole new community full of people with similar like-minded goals. And like, that's the pieces it takes to create an entire ecosystem for like success in fitness and being around people who make healthy decisions and talk. You're not going to get that. So they just kind of need to know what's down that other path first. You can convince them into your place, but to be honest, if a guy's looking for a $20 gym membership, he's never going to be yours until he's
not
not that
yours.
guy anymore.
Yeah, and it's your pricing should do a lot of the groundwork for you.
Yes.
To where it's either repelling or attracting the right people. And then how you can then package, once you know someone's walked through the door, they know this is not equipment rental. They know that this is not just like an open gym only thing. They realize like coach accountability, like you've made it abundantly clear. It's now what your job is really the same way you've broken it down for us before of your examples from the heating and air conditioning, where it's like, these are our packages. This is what we provide. And now it's really just meeting the customer at their own level of comfortability, because everything you do is packaged from a high quality, elite level care type service, that there should never be any confusion. You're not comparing apples and apples anymore.
They should know. Yeah. And there's an interest, and this isn't, and it's, by the way, it's not like these people are beneath you or anything. It's just, they're not ready. It's not their thing. It's not in their budget. And that's okay. If you sell cars, you have a used car lot and people come through and you don't have anything cheaper than $5,000 and their budget's $3,000, they're just not going to buy. They're not going to say, well, fuck you. And you're fucking expensive. It's like, you know what I mean? Like this is what I have. I'm sorry, I don't have anything that fits, and that's okay. And that's the way it is. And we always think as gym owners and coaches are actually very rarely, what's the word? Skilled in sales. Those that are, it's natural to them. It comes as an extension of their social skills and their ability to connect. But very often we're just afraid of being told no. We don't like being told no. We don't like being told that we're wrong. As a gym owner, as a coach, we're kind of in the business of being right where other people are wrong. Like I want to know, I want to help you navigate through all the bullshit and all the bad nutrition advice. And I would say, hey, that way you're doing this. You know what I mean? As a coach, you want to make sure that you're right. And being told no to something when you offer it is strange. You know what I mean? It's, if you're not used to it, it's very, very strange. Do you ever go to the grocery store? And I always ask you if you have the rewards card, if you would like to sign up for the rewards card today. And I hate it when I get asked that question all the time. I hate it.
Yeah.
But it actually is an absolute non-thing. The part of me that hates it is the part of me that hates getting told no, because I know that kid that is getting told no 700 times today. Sure. But as a matter of policy, if the people checking out ask 1,000 times a day, they're going to get 200 of them rewards cards sold.
Nah.
And that's the nature of it. Now, we don't have to play that game in the gym business, but it's a very good skill to learn, is to get told no and be able to handle it and understand just that it is what it is. And if you've never had a job where you're offering things and other layers for people to say yes to and no to, a no seems like rejection. You know what I mean? It seems like you got your heart broke. If you're like, sure, okay, so we're ready to get started. Like, this is me. This is my facility. Here's all the things that I'm proud of. And here's what we offer. And the guy's like, that's not worth it to me. Like, yeah, right. But we have to get over that. And that has to become, by the way, we're not in the business of getting told no all the time. You know what I mean? In sales, you really aren't trying to get blown out the door and let a bunch of people walk away with nothing. But you do have to get over your fear of being told no and the fear of rejection, because then when you're presenting these things, this is what it is. Here we go. Take it or leave it.
Well, it's all about the core or the crux of what we're talking about is just it's mindset shift across a lot of different pieces of this. But on this specifically, it's not everyone's going to say yes.
No.
And so this is where you have to stop getting over. And this is like our personal beliefs on like whether failing is good or failing is bad, or however you want to, the acronym for, for fail and all these different things that exist of trying to change these mindsets. Mm-hmm. But definitely if you switch your mindset of being like, my goal is to be told no 10 times today. Mm-hmm. I got to get no 10 times. Yeah. Because statistically speaking, if you have the right people, if you're talking to the right individuals, you are being put in the right position, you're just, in order to get to 20 no's or 10 no's, you're going to talk to 13 people because 3 people are going to say yes. Mm-hmm. And getting more comfortable with the idea of no, and then understanding what that actually means to where it's, it's not an attack. It's not a personal attack. No. And I think that was the biggest thing that was hard for me to do any of the things as I was learning new skills and I was wanting to be able to work with customers or work with clients. The reason why I was doing it, the reason why I spent any time at all trying to figure it out or build up the skill was that I wanted to provide them value.
Mm-hmm.
I valued it, and I knew that I could help them. I wanted to be able to help them. But then when it came to the price, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, this all sounds awesome. How much does it cost? And it's like, it's like $300. And
Yeah.
it's like it was like, I knew I could do it. It wasn't even a confidence thing of like, I didn't know how to do what I had just sold that I could do. But it was like, man, I'm super scared at this. Cause like, I don't want to.
I think this is why actors have agents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you could just farm that service out in the beginning, it'd make for a much slower learning curve. But you're like, oh, people do pay this for this. Cool. And it just gets you out of that way. We run into it a lot where we'll have projects where you maybe know a little more about the market than I do. And we'll go into something. It's like, John, I don't know what I should be charging for this. And very often it has very little to do on what my inputs are. It's what's it worth? How long does it take? What do I need? Boom, boom, boom. And those are the real factors in it, not how little can I ask this person so that they say yes. So that way, when I get this work, it's worth as little to me as possible. That's a wrong game to play in consulting. It's a wrong game to play in your gym. And it's a really bad way to play sales.
Yeah, because the way you need to back into these things is, again, like you said, it's not what the market around you is charging. That is a piece, but it's such a small percentage of getting a feel for it. You really need to be able to back into this thing at bare minimum of how you be able to back into it. But then it just gets down to the value of time. Again, we've talked about kind of building some of the offers before, and the idea of we learned early on some of the early versions of the offers that we would work with clients on oftentimes just made a gym owner made their time just super valuable, right? Ultra expensive. And what's interesting is even though we did that, so the gym owner's time went from typically $150 to $450 an hour, right? Or whatever it is, like something obscene, because you don't want people to choose it. And just like you said, it's one of those things where you're going to have folks that are just going to choose the more expensive offer because their $450, what that $450 means to them is totally different than what $450 means to me or means to the gym owner when we were setting that up originally. And then what we realized, as crazy as this sounds, is that when it came down to it, at the end of the day, $450 wasn't enough.
No, because too many people were doing it. So it was about the actual value of the time to the gym owner in the end, actually more so than anything else. And this is in everything. We don't sell time. And you gotta, this is a mindset thing that we've had to break this out of multiple industries. And in the tech field, I don't sell parts. I sell a service. I don't sell labor. I sell a service. I don't sell my time. I sell service. I don't sell mileage or gas. I sell a service. And the service is me here doing exactly what I'm here to do. And that's the same exact way in your gym. This service is you're going to get coach guided results. You're going to get the whole process, the whole thing. You're getting an end goal with a very premium process built into it. And that's the piece that people are buying. That's what they're paying. They're buying abs and good feelings and confidence in the mirrors and mornings knowing that they beat the day before and all that shit. That shit is what they're buying. They are not buying an hour of your fucking time. And the problem is the reason they think they do that is because that's what you think. As gym owner, you think that they're buying an hour of your time. So that's exactly what they think because that's what you sold them. And if I could just rip that out of everybody's damn head right now, it would be the best thing I ever did for you. I promise you don't sell time.
No, because as soon as you do that, it's no longer it cannot be about results. It no longer can be about the offers that you're putting together because it's now like the most tangible thing that can then just be quantified and then taken away. And again, you're not just an hour's worth of work, and everything that you do is not just an hour's worth of work. If you cannot get past the idea that you want to be able to give people the opportunity. And it comes down to sales, of how you feel about sales. And the most common thing is that sales is a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
It's negatively thought about. And you have to start switching your mindset that selling is serving.
Yeah.
It truly is.
And it really is offering, not selling.
Right.
We're gonna, by the way, we're gonna muck that language up a million times over, because we'll talk sales this, but it really is, for those that are afraid of sales, it's not sales. You built a good offer. Now you're presenting an offer. You're not selling them on anything. There's not some, okay, so you want to go with it? Like, it's not, it just isn't that. You tell them exactly what it is, and then you let them ask any questions pertaining to the option that they're most interested in. And from there, you navigate from there. You don't got to do all the talking. It's just, this isn't the slimy thing that people are afraid of it. It's just, I don't know. I don't understand it. But I want to go back to the selling time thing too. I had a conversation with somebody about this. I think this was about camera work or something here this last weekend. And he was like, well, it's kind of expensive. This guy was charging like $65 an hour. Like, that's a pretty good living, $65 an hour. I was like, well, if you're going to hire a videographer for $65 an hour, hire 10 of them. Great. You know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah.
But the thing I try to explain to somebody is like, well, there was a time when $20 an hour was a good job. If you had $20 an hour, you worked 40 hours a week. That's what, $800 a week, right? Mm-hmm. That's roughly $40,000 a year. That's okay, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, there's times in my life where that would have been great, and there's times where that would have been a huge hit. So I don't really know, so and I don't know where things move as far as like, is that enough money to live on now? But I don't know. But I know that you're not going to go, the same person that's going to pay you, if you're working for somebody, it's going to pay you $20 an hour. It's probably never going to bump you up to 60.
No.
How are you going to quadruple your income if you're already you're exchanging time for money? They're never going to triple their output to you per hour. Never. They're just never going to do it. You can't do 3 times the work. You've already set up to fail by playing that game originally. Getting into that traditional arrangement of time for money or parts for money or whatever that is already a broken system. And it's going to keep you, at the very least, it's going to keep you in that lower tier, and you can make things work and you can live up to that ceiling. But then there's no going beyond that ceiling once you're stuck in that transactional, purely time for money relationship.
And we all know, right, why the idea of like the locksmith that takes 10 hours to fix your lock. You're like, oh, okay, I got to pay him $200. Like, well, he was here for 10 hours. So holy shit.
Kind of on him.
All right, well, $200.
Sucks for him.
But the dude that comes and does it in 30 minutes
still
for $200, you're like, oh, what the flying fuck was that? Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous.
Call that guy on a Sunday night and it's $800. You know what I mean?
But the reality is that the one dude that took 10 hours that's the first lock he's ever done. And he may or may not have fucked your lock up pretty bad when he was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
The dude that was $200 for 30 minutes has done it for 20 years. But for some reason, when it comes to the trade like that, it's like, well, I mean, he's got tons of experience. Like, I know that it's going to get done. I know it's going to get done right. Where you have gym owners, it's like, we don't make that shift. Yeah. Where it's like, well, hold on. What about all the time that you're putting in? I do
think, though, that mindset shift coincides. And I think that's why we kind of end up with gym owners in the same place at the same time, John. It's like a lot of the people that we've come across over the years they're at a point where they're not brand new. And if they are coming in, they're deliberately have been taking this to a place where they've been trying to treat their job or their career as craftsmen, right? Sure. I do think that the types of coaches that we attract, the people we know within our circles, are trying to make sure that they really treat this like a craft, that they're honing their skills, that they really, really do take an artisan's approach to coaching. And they really are passionate about being good at it, not just doing it hour to hour or whatever. But I think in doing that, then that same mindset shift comes, and then they begin to value their time very differently and communicate that outwardly very differently. But early on, there's a lot of coaches that just like, I'm just a coach. You know how it is? Like, how many coaches out there, your parents say, when are you going to get a real job? You know what I mean? We've talked to coaches like that who said this,
For
like
sure.
wondering if they still got to get another job, or like when are they going to go back to law school and this and that. Like, you've dealt with that pressure from family as you shift into the fitness industry. Like, is this the real thing? You can make a living doing this? Can you make a real living doing this? And so we kind
Mm-hmm.
of have like had to deal with that resistance psychologically the whole time until we grow out of it. But then you got to own it in yourself. You have to own this. I'm a craftsman. I am good. I do have years of experience. I am the 20-year locksmith.
Right.
And I'm going to get you rolling real quick as possible here. And you're going to love it. It's going to be a happy experience. My shoes are going to be clean. I'm going to be nice. You know what I mean? I'm going to pet your dog. I'm going to clean up after myself. Like, those are all the things that a person should confidently be able to carry into that interaction as the coach, as the gym owner, as your sales stuff. If you can't walk up and talk to somebody and have them understand that you really take this seriously, then yeah, you're going to have a hard time. You know, it's going to be tough. You're going to get told no. But once you realize that what you do has value, I do think that mindset shift makes it so easy, because then you're not selling. People are just picking up exactly what you're putting down. I go, I like this guy. It was real straightforward. Here's what he does. I like it. It showed through when he spoke to me. It was very, very, very obvious that he's professional, he's compassionate, that they really, really, really care. And they have some really sweet offers. I can't afford them all. I really would have loved this top thing, but you know what? I'm going to get right there somewhere in the middle. It's exactly what I can afford. And I really believe, after seeing how they put things together, that they can take me there. And that is such a better takeaway from a sales interaction than somebody coming in going, okay, I guess I'll just do your group fitness. That's what we do. Or I just show up to classes. What if I don't like the people in there? What if I don't?
Right.
What if I'm like a little bit self-conscious? I don't. Oh, then I just got to just go one-on-one. You know, it's a very different process when it's not presented professionally, you know?
Yeah. And giving people the opportunity to be able to spend the money for the peace of mind.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, we're just in the market to be able to fix, right, the deck that we have.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of folks that are like, well, we're $65 an hour. And then I got somebody else that goes, well, it's going to be $600 for me to fix it. And then I got a guy that goes, well, it's $2,000. And I'm like, why?
Tell me. Yeah.
Why is it 2,000? Yeah. It's not that I'm spending $2,000.
By the way, and you weren't busting his balls.
Not at all. I am. You
were more worried about. I would have been more worried about the other two guys.
$65. Like, I'm worried about the only one.
You're gonna do this for $2. I'm all right. At least you know that guy's probably going to make money on it, so he'll be around in 2 years too if there's a problem. But that is a very interesting thing, that being concerned about why someone is charging so much isn't always often that you think that guy's a crook. It's just like, I want to know what kind of bullshit is going on back here.
Oh, do you know why? The dude that wanted to charge us the lowest tier ghosted us multiple times when we were text messaging, going back and forth.
Yeah.
It seemed questionable about whether or not it was even maybe a business. And only because there were so many reviews, I was like, well, like, I think that they really do exist, but it's weird because he's not. The dude that said $2,000 called me 5 minutes after I sent the first message. Not a bot. And he called apologizing that it took him so long to reach out because the app was being buggy and he couldn't message me in the app. And I was like, okay, that's before I knew it was $2,000, right?
Yeah.
That was before I knew it was $2,000. And the fact is that all those things, everything that happened, that he showed up when he said he was going to show up, that he sent up the follow-up email, that he hit me up 5 minutes within my initial outreach, all those pieces made it to when I got hit with the $2,000 quote was not like get the fuck out of here. I'm like, I'm more interested now into why you're so expensive, because you guys have been killing it on every aspect of the game until you gave me the quote, which feels kind of high. Mm-hmm. So explain to me why that's not high. Yeah. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And now to boil this down too, is then had he added layered tiers like we would do here, layered stacked offerings, all of a sudden, maybe he has a $600 option, which is like, we work you in sometime between now and next spring when I have time. No, but for real, right?
No, absolutely.
When I have time, you're going to pre-buy the material and have it delivered here for yourself. You're going to have to whatever. You're responsible for A, B, and C here. And I need this, and this. You got to tear down. You know what I mean? There are ways that can be done. And there are ways, if your budget wouldn't have allowed you to do that version, you would have much rather spent $6 with this guy on a lower level product than $6 on the other guy, on Mr.
Without a doubt.
But that is the important thing. And that's why when we get into establishing who you are as a gym and who you want to be and how you want to be perceived and the service you want to deliver, all of these things have to fit this. You can't be $2,000 pricing guy and also be no text back guy. Meaning your system's got to be in place. You got to know that when someone calls, like, I'm not going to sell a lot of $2,000 or $3,000 gym packages if I'm blowing people off. It's not going to work. But if I'm quick and I catch them right when their emotional pain is high, when they've reached out, when they've already been vulnerable and called and said, hey, I'm trying to make some changes, you know, I really need to make this work. And they've already put themselves out there like this. You got to pounce right then. You got to be quick. And so these things they're not unrelated. He can charge that. He has to charge that much because he's able to offer that level of service first.
But that's it.
But he offers that level of service. It allows him to charge that much. It's a feedback loop.
Because it's not about staining the deck. That's not what the service is. The service is 5 minutes or less reach out. Like it's all the other pieces, all the other intangible pieces that allow you to allow this particular example to provide the level of service in which I feel confident that the job is going to get done. I trust the process, all the other things, those intangible pieces. And that's what either you are doing or not doing in your gym. When you're like, well, you know, we could give you a discount here, whatever it is. It's like you're having the wrong conversation.
Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. You need to be able to have folks feel confident in every single step of the process. That then when the price hits them, it's not like it's like, I don't know, man, they've really been taking care of this and I'm feeling really good about this. And man, I really want to get this done.
Yeah. Or they'll say, yeah, that makes sense. I can't afford that. Right. What can I afford? And they'll go right down to there. And that's the point. We get to that plate. You guys have heard about the plate method and things like that. As you stack your offers, that's the important thing. Drive value. And then they'll just look down and go, what can I afford? It all sounds good. What can I afford? What fits my needs, my buying habits, and my budget? Boom. Done.
Because it's no longer yes or no.
It's yes or yes.
It's yes or yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
I have another interesting question, John, and maybe this is a philosophical thing. How do you weed out the $20 and $30 interest? You know, do you want to be getting on a bunch of sales things with people who are looking for that? And how do you make sure that you're not getting a pile of those people that are coming in that are not looking for that yet, or not ready, or are looking for the cheapest gym membership? Do you have any advice for people saying, well, I get people in all the time who complain about this? How do you prevent that?
When we started playing in the ad space a little bit, it's not a space that we personally like hanging out in, but when we started working with clients that were already kind of doing the ad space, when they started off, the leads that they were getting were hilariously bad. They were so bad. And so
they were bordering on, well, and also like some of those initial runs were for things that were almost advertised as nearly free.
That's exactly where I was driving. So what we looked at, because we were involved, right? We weren't involved in.
Yeah, we weren't doing those parts. We were doing the rest.
No, yeah. We were on the back end, kind of helping streamline systems and processes. And as we would check in, be like, well, hey, how's it going? Because we've built all this stuff on the back end to like help the process run smoothly. And then it was like, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. Like fill in the blank, right? It's like they don't speak any English, and we don't provide non-English services, and like they don't return the calls, and their phones are disconnected, or it was all these things that were tied to just not.
They're running out of minutes mid-call. Is that still a thing? How does any of this work?
And so when we went in, so you and I went in and we looked at the ads. We looked at the wording. We looked at the landing pages, right, that attracted people in, and we're like, oh my God, you guys, like, oh my God, have you guys seen what this looks like? It looks like a free service. This looks like you are renting your brother's closet behind his pet store, and you're running a gym out of there. Now, if any of you are running gyms out of pet store closets, like, God bless you. But you need to make sure
take better pictures. You know, do what you can.
It was no surprise. And so let's
Yeah.
say that once we realized it was no surprise. And so we're like, well, we need to remove the word free from this. Like
Yeah.
we need to remove this. And so you and I have spent, that was, man, maybe a year ago. And then what we started doing is really started to craft of the idea of what's the language, what's the imaging, what's the portrayal of, if you want something high level,
Yeah.
elite, luxury, like those
Well,
types of phrases.
Yeah. And this thing, and by the way, this isn't just about your gym, by the way, because your
No.
gym can be raw and rugged and whatever, but some of your higher ticket premium offerings need to appear and sound that way. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
we started going through these. What we did was we went through ad campaigns, both video and web based, and we started looking for brands that we thought did that well.
Mhm.
And the words that they used and the style that they used for pictures and how slick things looked and things they did do, maybe things we specifically never saw them mention of. Some of them, you know what I mean? Some of them, a lot of those things you find also give almost no description into features. You notice that?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to get on a Jaguar commercial, a thing that starts reading you features of the car. It's just like sexy, sleek, boom, Jaguar.
That's it.
You know, that's it.
You'll have more sex if you buy this car. Like and that's one of the craziest things is that when you really started looking at why people bought, like money is always emotional, always.
And for these ads, it's important too, and not just. By the way, I'm not saying just for ads because we don't recommend you just start firing off ads without thinking. No. But when you're communicating about this, whether you do it on social media or whether it is in your presentation materials when you're presenting your offers to clients, things like that, is those things are as important as your whole correspondence feel premium like this from beginning to end, just because that way it doesn't need to just serve as an attractor. It also needs to serve as a filter, and it needs to filter out the business and the leads that are not worth your time at the moment. And that's not on you to decide. Let them decide. If they look at it and go, this thing's not for me, good, because you don't need to do your whole spiel to have them tell you that if they knew beforehand.
No. And again, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know if the dude that drives up in a 2002 Camry, right? You don't know if that dude is the wealthiest guy in the area. He just doesn't appreciate buying a new car, but he'll drop mad money on everything else. Like you don't know what people choose to spend their money on. So stop trying to make decisions for people. Yeah. And like you said, maybe stop selling. I think is a reasonable thing to say is stop selling people. Start offering.
Stop selling, but start offering.
And just start raising the bar for what you offer in your gym. And these are things that you don't have to do anything hard to start. I mean, being consistent is difficult, but is the trash taken out of the gym? Is the gym clean? Does it smell good? What do the bathrooms look like?
This is how you clean up your first impressions. What's your first impression of your deck guy? Perfect phone call, clean correspondence, easy, professional, kind, like made you feel like he cared. That matters, right? People won't remember what you did or what you said. They'll remember how you made them feel. So if someone walks into your facility or they get an email from you or a call or a text, every one of those things, your first impression thing, it needs to smell like a freaking fancy new car the whole way through. You know what I mean? That whole experience needs to feel like leather seats feel. It needs to smell like a nice fresh dinner cooked at home. Whatever it is, this whole thing needs to be appealing from the beginning. And when someone walks in and goes, it was nice, the gym didn't smell like feet, the floors were clean, it looked cool. You know what I mean? Like people were around that were smiling. The person I talked to was friendly and happy to be there, not pushy. And that's here's what we have to offer. And that's all you got to do to then if someone walks in and go in this thing $20 gym thing and they walk in and they see all of the things that I just described to you, minus maybe the smell of a freshly cooked dinner. And then they see your offer. They just know that this is not aligned with what they came in here expecting. And then they're done. That's okay. That's just it. That makes it such an easy no. You're not getting told no because you embarrassed yourself. No, You're not getting told no because you were pushy and saying it was the wrong thing. Someone told you no because it didn't fit, which meant you can be proud. Like, this is what I offer, and it's not work for you. Great. But man, what a great way. They leave and they're telling everybody how that place was way too nice and way too fancy for me. And that's how you attract people who like nice and fancy things too. So it really, really works really well if you can just be, once you get that way, just be that way and be it loudly and make sure you really do it deliberately, because you have to do it. Every single contact in the beginning has to represent that, because maybe your guy with the $600 deck could have done a great job and just had a bad couple days with his cell phone service. But boy, what does it look like to you? Fly by night operation, total scab, no idea the quality of work or how it's going to be, or if he's going to leave some half finished shit. Now the possibilities, the negative possibilities are just spooling up in your mind. And we want to diffuse that as much as possible with like, oh, they need comfort. They need to know it's going to be taken care of. They need to know when I come in here, I provide the work and the energy and the commitment, and these guys are going to help me get results. The results I've been wanting for a long fucking time.
And the reason why we touch on the foundational stuff is so important. It's what you just said. It's, you need to do this all the time. So you need to really make sure that what you want your gym to be is who you are, like it's who you want to be. Because if you don't want to be that, if you're pretending to be something else, you will crash, you will burn, you'll crash and burn on this. You can only fake it for so long. The term like fake it till you make it will only get you so far. Yeah. Because the problem is that you're going to get too far into it, and all of a sudden you'll be like, I hate all of this. I can't fake this anymore. I hate it all. So you do need to make sure you do that front work and being like, this is who I want to be. This is who I want to attract. And then I'm going to double down on this particular thing all the way. I'm going to crank it to 11. And as long as you make sure that your pricing comes along with that, you can afford to laminate the sheets that you're going to put in front of people. You can afford to buy the nice folder. You can afford to buy them
together on a real nice PDF, and you can present it on a nice jumbo iPad that just feels good in somebody's hand to hold. You know what I mean? Like that's a different thing. That detail alone is a different thing, and you can find a million ways to do that. But types of things like that, as long as it aligns with what you're trying to do, those little difference makers are huge difference makers in the long run.
Or continue to charge as small amount as possible and barely escape by and miss people's text messages and calls.
Yeah, Planet Fitness will be here forever because they can afford to run half those locations at a loss and come and go. And like it's just kind of all works out for them. It's a much bigger piece than what you and most of you gym owners out there are working with. You can't afford to lose your ass for 2, 3, 4, 6, 10 months in a row. You can't afford to take 2 years before you can make a profit. You can't afford to churn clients like they do. You can't afford to have only 10% of your people show up, because for you to exist, you got to be so expensive. You have to be expensive enough to where they're not going to just let that skate and not come in and not get results. Like, your model is not their model. So stop trying to imitate their pricing. Yeah. So to send everybody out, I think the takeaways here really is going to be stop being afraid of selling, and start offering. And other than that, quit racing to the bottom for pricing, because you don't want to be on the bottom. You don't want to be the cheapest, and you don't want to be the most easily approachable, easily disrespected, easily walked outable, easily blah, 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 all the flaws in all of those cheap gyms. You don't want to play that game. Let them play a different game than you.
It should hurt when they buy. Yes. Because what that means is that it'll hurt when they need to go.
Yeah.
There was something that was there that kept them there. So if it doesn't make someone stop and think twice, then you're making it very easy for them to walk out in 5 or on the average 6 months. They're going to leave, or they don't. And your averages are a year or more. Yeah. And now you're playing a completely different game. But these are the conversations that we're having in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
This is why we've started doing this.
Yeah, and as we get more gyms under the umbrella and they start running some of these things through, we're gonna start seeing a lot of stamped out guys. I did A and it delivered B and C, and I really am looking forward to start seeing some of these conversations pop up in the group, because because we're having a lot of them behind the scenes, and it's been a ton of fun. So I really can't wait to start bringing these things to the forefront for you guys.
Yeah.
So the Facebook group is the Gym Owners Movement on the Facebook group. It's in the descriptions. Everything's in the description here if you're listening. If you're watching, you can also find the show on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else. If you're listening, join the Facebook group. We don't have YouTube. We're trying to keep these conversations more or less gym owners for gym owners in the private group. So that way you guys can share your wins. We can have gym owners having real conversations, and they don't got to worry about their clients and all that stuff seeing it. So this is Gym Owners Community. You can follow me on Instagram at Tyler F. and Stone. Follow the podcast at the Gym Owners Podcast on Instagram. And John?
At JBanksFL.
Move your head to the side. Can we see the gator behind you?
Oh yeah,
we got the gator. New gator in the back.
New gator in the back. Slowly adding more and more additions to the visual podcast. Even more of a reason to get into the Facebook group so you can fully appreciate us in video.
Yeah, if we get to 200,000 people in that Facebook group, John and I will both shave our beards.
I think that's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah,
200,000 in there, we'll do it. Yeah, okay.
That's it.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody, and we'll